20 years ago, before online reviews were really a big thing, people would call their brother and say, hey, I know you've got a business. What bookkeeper are you using? But right now, most customers, some customers still do that, but most customers are going to Google and they're typing in bookkeeper near me or bookkeeper in my city or top bookkeepers.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. I am your host, Michael Palmer, and before we get into this week's episode, I just wanted to let you know that unfortunately, I accidentally used the wrong microphone when I interviewed our guest, Craig Staley, and I didn't realize it. I apologize for my poor audio, but Craig's audio is just fine, and again, I'm sorry about this. I hope you still enjoy the interview. Our guest is the owner of HG Site Design and the host of the Small Business School podcast. Craig Staley, welcome to the show.
Michael, thanks for having me. I really appreciate you having me on.
It's great to have you, and I love the name of your podcast. I mean,
Thank you.
Our listener is sitting there going, well, yeah, I'm a small business owner, probably a podcast I might want to be listening to. So before we get into all of that, Craig, tell us a little bit about yourself and your career journey leading up to this point.
Sure. So I'm here in Omaha, Nebraska, but I grew up on a farm in Iowa, moved to Omaha, Nebraska for college and school. And, I was obviously looking for a job while I'm going to school. And I got a job at Nebraska Furniture Mart, which is, if you're in the area, it's a giant furniture and home furnishing store. There's stores now in a few states, but to give you kind of an idea of scope, it's about 500,000 square feet, which if you're familiar with like a Walmart, those are, probably somewhere between 50 and 100,000. So carries a lot of different products. It was just a job and started off selling small appliances. So I was showing people vacuums and stand mixers and that type of stuff. But as I kind of grew within the sales department, I'd maybe been there for a few years and got my marketing degree. One of the guys that I got to know in the marketing department kind of was tasked with starting the first e-commerce site for Nebraska Furniture Mart. So very, very big retailer, but just no e-commerce presence at that point. And he asked me if I wanted to join. So I was, I think, the third employee in the e-commerce department. And, I want to say the first year we sold maybe 6 million. And I think by the time I left the e-commerce department, maybe 10 years later, we were doing in the 100 million or more range. So it grew immensely and it was fun. It was kind of like being in a 80-year-old company and a startup kind of in the middle of that 80-year-old company. So it was really interesting. It was really fun. And I learned a lot and wore a lot of different hats and moved to the operations side of the business. After a while, decided to learn more about the business in different areas. And I missed the marketing aspect. I missed the e-commerce aspect. And so I decided to start my own website design business. So I think it was, what was it now? Maybe fall of 2019, I started doing web design on the side, WordPress websites, got quite a few customers right away, kind of spent the year really focusing on web design. And then at the end of 2020, it really felt good about what we were doing for web design and wanted to start adding marketing services. Just waited a while to make sure that we could offer our customers the right service and provide that service level. So the end of last year, we started adding some marketing services, and that's kind of where we're at today.
Wow. And so when you started your business, what was that journey like? Did you hit any roadblocks?
Well, to be honest with you, the journey was I know how to tell someone how to build a website and maybe how users use a website. I'm pretty good at the functionality aspect, but I've never had to go into WordPress and build my own website. So really that was kind of my first step was really learning WordPress, deciding on the right theme that would give me the capability to build a real flexible website for not only myself, which was the first website I built, and then my customers. So I got pretty proficient at that. Now I have, different team members and freelancers that help me out with the website design. I do it myself as well, but hire people to help out. So that was really the first piece of the journey was, okay, I know how to make a website look right. I know what users want to do, but I got to learn how to build these things.
Wow. And so now you also have a podcast. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So about a year ago, April, during the pandemic, I'd always wanted to start my own podcast. And for me, the goal was twofold. I mean, I think it's a marketing vehicle to reach out to your target market, of course. But it was also, for me, never running a business. Selfishly, it was a learning tool as well. I've had a lot of great guests on that have, I'm sure my listeners are learning something, but I know for sure I'm learning something as well. So that has been selfishly kind of a nice aspect of having my own podcast. So I have anyone from, small business owners kind of tell their story to experts. So, whether they're an expert in outsourcing or bookkeeping or, a number of different things. It was just recently we had someone that was an expert in small business loans. Just filling in gaps where some of us small business owners, it's not really our expertise, and just give us the ability to learn a little bit more about a subject.
We'll get back to the interview right after this word from our sponsor. Manage bookkeeping quickly and easily. With Cinder, you can import unlimited historical payment data, automate manual payment entries in books, and get detailed information about transactions. Connect all client sales channels and payment providers such as Stripe, Square, PayPal, Amazon, and more to Cinder to have books under your constant supervision. Cinder will automatically fill in all the missing details and send proactive notifications if something needs your closer attention. Excited? Get free access now on Cinder.com. That's SYNDER.com. Thank you for hearing from our sponsor. Now let's get back to the interview. There's so many things to learn as a small business owner, as you and I both know and our listener knows. And as our listener is sitting there, they most likely are a bookkeeping business, small business. And there's many ways to market a business like this. What have you learned on your podcast around marketing that would be useful for them to know?
Gosh, there's so many different ways to market. I think one of the things that I've seen from some of I've had a lot of sales guests recently, and I think there seems to be a shift in, there's still obviously, as if you get on LinkedIn or in your inbox, there's still a ton of cold outreach happening. But I think there are a lot of people that are leveraging social media to kind of build relationships with potential clients prior to the outreach. And I think that's a really good way to do it. You see it on LinkedIn a lot. If you're on LinkedIn and, hey, Craig, I think we can offer you something. It's a longer game, but where I think you can be successful is, hey, Craig, I really enjoyed this post. It really taught me this, and kind of warming up that potential client, commenting on a few of their posts, trying to add value to maybe their Facebook group or whatever it is, before you ask for that virtual coffee or whatever it might be. I think that's a trend that I'm seeing a lot of people doing, and it seems to work pretty well.
Mm-hmm. I would think so. And regarding LinkedIn, do you find that people are, if you think of LinkedIn in the world, there's so many people. What would be some of the ways that you've seen or heard around just being focused on a platform like LinkedIn?
Yeah, I think there's a ton of LinkedIn tools. It's really not where I go to personally to grow my business. I post on LinkedIn and some of that. I think the key is to really understand who your target is. Obviously for me, it's small business owners and it's service-based small business owners. And I think once you understand that, it makes your messaging a lot easier. It makes understanding who you're looking for a lot easier. If you're a bookkeeper, I'm sure there's a ton of niches that you could take a look at, and that might help. You stand out in the crowd of, I'm the bookkeeper for this type of, maybe it's salons, whatever it might be, or a certain size of business. But that also makes your marketing job a little bit easier because you know who you're targeting, whether that's on Facebook or LinkedIn or, any of the social media platforms.
And do you find that many of the customers you work with, are they clear about who they're doing business with, or is that something that's a challenge for them as well?
I think that's a challenge for all of us because I think there's always this fear of missing out. And if we can't serve everyone, we're going to miss out on that one customer. But I think in reality, once you focus on what you're really good at and who you're really good at helping, that makes your job so much easier, and it's going to end up bringing you more business in the long run.
It is amazing. I mean, there's probably a lot of areas in our lives where we have too big of a net that we're casting. If you think of going on a vacation, or there's a million places you could go on vacation, but the moment you kind of narrow it down and you go, well, I'm going to go here, it just makes it a lot easier to focus on getting to that particular place. And just thinking about it now, I mean, if you think about LinkedIn and how big it is and how many different people are on it and how many different businesses are on it, I mean, it could be overwhelming. A person could spend every day and every night just thinking about, well, who would I even reach out to? But the moment you're clear, it just takes care of so many things. So that's maybe a great one. If someone hasn't done that yet, is get really clear about the type of people you want to connect with and focus on that. You might sleep better at night.
Yeah, I think the thing too to think about, 20 years ago, even a year ago, sometimes we considered our market or our area we were serving is the town that we're in. But now with everything, here we're having a conversation over the internet. We've got Zoom. We've got all these different tools that we can access. You truly could be a bookkeeper for just hairstylists, even if there's only 5 hairstylists in your town, because you have the whole world that you could focus on. I mean, if that makes sense in your business, it broadens, even though you're niching down, it really broadens your audience.
Absolutely. It's amazing when you think of it that way. And also, I think on the flip side of that, many people think the world and forget about even the people that are just next door in your community, which I think I've heard a few times on this podcast, people missing that local opportunity.
Yeah.
Now, what has worked really well for your business?
So I think a number of things, some of the stuff that we've talked about has worked pretty well, really building those relationships. But one thing I've noticed with my customers, as I was building websites for them, and that was kind of the only service we were offering at the time, one thing I really noticed is, the thought is, okay, I'm going to build this website, and then all of a sudden traffic will just show up and people will buy stuff from me. I don't know if you're familiar with the movie Field of Dreams, but with websites and marketing, it's, just because you build the website doesn't mean, the people are going to come. And I think for me, one thing that I've focused on with my clients is, all of them have a great reputation in person. When someone comes into their business, the clients that I'm working with, their clients love them. I think the focus should be on their online reputation. And in many cases, it's good. It just could be more consistent and better. And I guess when I talk about online reputation, I'm really talking about reviews and what your reputation is online. Because, 20 years ago, before online reviews were really a big thing, people would call their brother and say, hey, I know you've got a business. What bookkeeper are you using? But right now, most customers, some customers still do that, but most customers are going to Google and they're typing in bookkeeper near me or bookkeeper in my city or top bookkeepers, things like that on Google. So I think a lot of us as small business owners really focus on our social media presence and making sure we're posting on social media and those things. But we lose that Google My Business page and don't think about it as something that's going to really drive our business. It's interesting. I was doing a little research and I found out that less than 50% of local retailers actually set up their Google My Business page and actively use it. So I think it's something that we're missing out on as small business owners, because there's one huge advantage, something free that Google gives away. You can buy Google ads, but if you're getting consistent reviews on Google and Google sees that, and if you have 5 bookkeepers in your town and you have 40 reviews and the next one has 15 and the next one down there has 3 or 0, you're going to probably show up in that local 3-pack, which is the first 3 businesses that get shown on a Google search result for free if someone searches bookkeepers near me or bookkeepers in Omaha or whatever they might search. So I think that's something that business owners maybe don't focus on that they definitely could add some more focus to.
This sounds like a pretty big opportunity. We're talking 50% of businesses have not set one up. Was that the number?
Yeah, it's less than 50% have set it up. Yeah.
Less than 50%. So it's probably closer to 60% than that have not. That's a massive amount of businesses. So the 3-pack, the top 3-pack, I love that name. The 3-pack is there waiting for our listener, and it's not crowded. Right. Because so many have not taken this up. How difficult is it to do this?
It's not terribly difficult at all. I've developed a system for my customers, but it can be as simple as and easy as you have a bookkeeping client and they've come to you for years. Let's say you have 10 bookkeeping clients that have come to you for years. The first step I would do is I would get the link to, after I set my Google My Business page up, I would get the link to my Google My Business page, and I would email that link out to all of my customers individually and say, hey, Jerry, you've been with me for years. Really, really appreciate your business. We're looking to up our number of reviews on Google and would really appreciate if you'd leave me a quick review. Here's a link. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to leave you a review, and immediately you'll start moving your reviews up. And the key really is that Google's looking for in almost anything, but especially in reviews, is frequency and consistency. So once you've gone through your past list of clients, as you onboard a new client and you serve them, you need to make a habit of asking them for a review and then reminding them, because the thing about customers is they have the greatest intention when you're face to face of going home and leaving you a 5-star review. But then they get in their car and they get a call from their husband, or their kid's sick, or this happens, and they're going to forget. So in many cases, you just need to remind them and just be consistent about asking for them to move the needle.
Yeah, and a great way to prompt it is leave them a review.
Exactly.
Or tell them, get a Google My page going so I can leave you a review. And oh, by the way, can you do me as well? It's such a great opportunity and a way to get it going. Now, setting up a My Google Business page, is that complicated?
No, it's not really complicated at all. There's really 3 basic things to your Google My Business page. So there's the basic information. So that's the hours that you're open, phone number, name of your business, that type of information. The real key one key tip that I'll give you is when you're picking the category for your business, try to be as specific as possible. If you're say bookkeeper for construction companies, put that, because that is what Google's using when someone searches bookkeeper for construction companies near me. They're looking for the best possible result for that customer, their potential customer that's doing the Google search. So try to be as specific as possible. If you have a niche or you serve a certain audience, don't just put bookkeeper. Try to be specific there so you can kind of really be featured when people search for that specific type of search. But the other thing besides your basic information, that's all pretty easy. You want to have a number of images. Then obviously that's once you're set up with that, then that's when you start asking for reviews. But the other tip I'll give you that's going to help you get up the rankings for searches with your Google My Business page and that local 3-pack is do posts. So in Google My Business page, there's the ability to do almost like mini blogs. So there's a number of categories of these blogs. It might just be an update, or it might be now they have a COVID-19 update. So if there's, you need to wear a mask when you come into my business, that type of information, you want to fill that out as a post. But also offers. So if you offer a certain discount for a month, you would want to post that on there. The other thing, I would just use it in the update portion as literally a mini blog. So you don't want to write 1,000 words. It might be 2 paragraphs about a service that you offer, or something that a customer may want to find more information about, tips for tax time, or whatever that might be. I would do that at a minimum on a monthly basis. But for my clients, we try to do it on a weekly basis.
It sounds like a really, just keeps sounding like a great idea. It's a platform, it's a massive platform. Google is the number one search out there. This is a free service. And then just a little bit of activity on there is going to increase your likelihood of getting put in that 3-pack. So, if someone was going to invest their time in setting this up for themselves, what would you recommend? Is this a day-long thing that's going to take to set up, or should they schedule an hour?
I think you if you've never done it before, it's obviously going to take a little bit longer. But I would say, no more than 2 hours. If you have all your images, a logo for your business, maybe some, if you have a physical location, some interior shots of your business, maybe a headshot of you or your employees, some of that type of stuff, that's all at your fingertips. It won't take very long at all for you to fill out. I mean, at 2 hours or less for sure.
Very good. And then, of course, they can hire someone like you to do this for them, I'm sure.
Yeah, and we can always set up the Google My Business page for customers. But one thing that we do offer is a platform where, like I said, customers are busy and they forget. You can enter their email address in our platform, specifically built for you, and it'll send them a series of reminder emails. Once they respond or they click on the link to leave your review, then the emails stop. And I think the biggest advantage of doing it the way that we offer for our clients is we do something where they click through to leave a review, and you go to a web page and there's a thumbs up and a thumbs down. So it gets a thumbs up. If the customer says you did a good job and they're going to give you a thumbs up, it takes them to the links to leave a review. If they say thumbs down and maybe something didn't go quite right, it takes them to a contact us form, and that will be a direct email to you. And so hopefully then the customer will fill that out and say, hey, Craig, I wasn't really happy about the experience. I really wish this would have happened. And now you have that in your inbox. They didn't leave a negative review, and you can fix the situation with your customer to hopefully retain them for years to come.
Fantastic. So this is like you're asking them first, are you happy?
Yes.
And then it routes them to the appropriate response. You're not happy, well, let's not send you over to leave us a glorious review, because you won't.
Yeah, exactly.
And then if it is a glorious review, then go, hey, thank you for updating here. And it's automated. Sounds like that you've set this all up to be automated.
Yes. Yeah, it's all automated, so it kind of takes the work off your shoulders of following up. But I think the biggest thing, we all can follow up via email with our customers, but I think the biggest thing is, if they did happen to have a bad experience, keeping that review out of Google, and then also fixing it with your customers so you can retain them, down the road.
Yeah, make them happy, and then you'll have a happy review. I think that's often missed by many people, is to first find out whether or not they are happy and want to listen. It's like, would you leave me a review versus how are we doing? Are you happy with our service? So I love that your system is incorporated that into it. I'd love to hear, if you have them, stories of people that have gone on and taken advantage of Google My Business, and what kind of results have they seen?
Yeah, so we've got a customer who this is. I'll give you a story. We have a med spa customer, and when we started doing the Google My Business for them, we realized they had 2 Google My Business pages. So a lot of times Google will create one for you automatically. If it realizes, okay, here's a business people are visiting, they're going to try to create a Google My Business page, but no one's claimed it yet. So that was the case here. They had a Google My Business page. It had a couple reviews on it, but then they didn't realize that existed. They had created another Google My Business page that had a couple reviews on it. So what we did was we claimed the other one. We dissolved the one that they actually had built because they had more reviews on the one that was originally created by Google. And then we started implementing the process. And what we do is this particular customer has, roughly maybe an email list of about 400. So we were able to, we don't want to send them all an email at once. I guess this is a point I didn't make earlier. If you have an email list of 400, 500, don't send them an email the same day and ask for reviews, because you're going to get maybe, say, 10% of them automatically will just send you a review, and Google's going to be like, well, that's kind of crazy. All of a sudden in one day, they got 40 reviews. So what we do is we trickle them through, and we'll ask maybe 5 or 10 a day. And, it's a slow process, and maybe over a month, you might get, 5 or 10 good reviews. But then you start seeing your numbers go up, and you could see a 10% increase in visits to your website pretty easily month over month as you kind of build these reviews. And the great thing is, we got a couple months in, we started building up their reviews, and one of their employees noticed, I didn't even notice this, when they searched skincare in their city, they all of a sudden started showing up in that local 3-pack. So that's kind of what you'll start noticing is you may not show up for every single term, but you might show up for certain terms in that local 3-pack. So then as you keep gaining more momentum like they have, you start showing up for more and more terms, and you get more traffic to your business. And I don't know what their business has increased, but they've definitely been happy with the increases, and they've noticed an increase in foot traffic in the store as well.
That's wonderful. Yes, just a really great opportunity. I love that we stumbled upon this, and it's one thing that our listener right now listening to this can say, I'm going to book 2 hours, I'm going to get a fresh coffee at the beginning or hot tea, sit down, get this figured out, improve it. And then if that sounds too daunting, they can reach out to you and get some help to get this done as well. And so maybe tell us about any other great marketing tools that you think our listener should be focused on in addition to this.
So one thing I would recommend, what I recommend to my clients, is to think about content marketing, because I think, for me, for a lot of my clients, trying to come up with a social media post or something to post on my Google My Business page or what to put in my next email for marketing, that sometimes can be daunting. But I think what we need to do is think about, how do we build a piece of content that can live in multiple areas? So right now we're on one of those pieces of content. So if you have a podcast, that's a great tool that you can take and you can send it out obviously into the world and people can listen to it in its full form. You can cut it up into bits. You could make YouTube videos out of it. You could cut it up into small audio clips and put on Instagram. So finding those. So maybe it's a podcast for Michael and I. Maybe for you, what makes sense is 5-minute YouTube videos or 3-minute YouTube videos where you talk about what you should be thinking about doing during tax time, or how to prepare QuickBooks, or whatever might serve your audience. And then don't be afraid to use that in multiple channels, because your customers, I think sometimes there's a fear of customers see, so I saw this in their email, now I see it on Facebook. That's probably not happening, because likely on your Facebook page, only 5% maybe of your followers are going to see any given post. So feel free to post it everywhere. Put it on your Facebook, put it on your Instagram, put it on your Google My Business page in the post section, and you're not going to get much overlap. So I would just kind of implore everybody to come up with a content strategy, something that's going to add value to your customers, and don't be afraid to use it in multiple areas.
Fantastic. Craig, this has been absolutely fantastic. Where can people find out more about you, HG Site Design, and your podcast?
Sure. So, you mentioned people can reach out to me, but if you want to just learn more about Google My Business, you want to get that fresh cup of coffee like Michael mentioned and sit down and get it done, I have a free PDF and 3 free videos that'll help walk you through setting up your Google My Business page. If you just go to hgsitedesign.com/GMB, you'll get the download for those, and you can get started right away. If you have any questions about something I talked about today on the podcast, probably the easiest thing is just reach out to me via email. Let me know you were listening to Michael's podcast. My email is craig@hgsitedesign.com. That's probably the 2 easiest ways to get a little more value.
Beautiful. And of course, we'll have links to that and all of the notes from this in our podcast notes. And Craig, this has been delightful. I really appreciate it. I think often there's so many things you could talk about with marketing and just theoretical stuff. We really have a great hands-on thing that anybody listening could go and do and make a difference in their business and likely see results pretty quickly. I mean, just the fact that you have some reviews about you online with Google My Business, that there is worth its weight in gold. So thank you for your generosity and sharing your experiences with us today.
And Michael, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
It's been our pleasure. And with that, we wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.